The General Assembly should not allow for its power to legislate or broker away any function of the sheriff. None whatsoever. When there's a criminal act, nonfeasance, malfeasance, or misfeasance, it's the governor and two duly appointed sheriffs along with the Attorney General who has the ability to remove that officer based upon said particular misconduct. So there's a provision in place for you to deal with an ineffective sheriff, but it's not one that says that you need to abolish or otherwise alter the office to bring it under the control of somebody else. It's unconstitutional, and I think not in the best interest of democracy. If you look at in the state of Georgia and in the state of Indiana, these are prime examples of where if there was a need to consolidate law enforcement functions, the sheriff's office was the ruling authority of which those functions were brought up under his authority, even if it meant city governments as well as county police officers. On the retrospect, we don't want to come up and be like the state of Connecticut, and I'm sure that the sheriffs here that sit back in the back of this room know about the state of Connecticut that has not too long ago abolished its entire sheriff system, and they regret it to this day, more or less from the perspective of the citizens. But now it's in place. What can you do to try to bring it back? And we definitely do not want to come into being like the Davidson County, Nashville Metro Police Department, where the sheriff essentially has no authority whatsoever other than to serve civil process and to run the jail. The people need an independent law enforcement officer that answers to them, and I don't think that an appointed sheriff would be as effective under a particular board of commissioners if you remove his particular powers away. Now I'll say this, and I'll throw it out there as is, but I mean it's just an appearance from what I've heard of other people in the community. It could be reasonably assumed that a hidden agenda exists to abolish or appoint this most important office because of political party and racial makeups of the county. I would ask this of the North Fulton persons who are on the General Assembly. This is a very challenging and daunting question for you. Now, you want to try to appoint or otherwise bring the sheriff's office under the control of the Board of Commissioners, but if you start at Milton County, constitutional law and mandate says that you have to establish a sheriff in your particular county. Are you going to appoint or otherwise seek to try to have those particular functions altered and watered down? No, because the state will not allow that. In conclusion, the best ideas to reform county government deserves vigorous debate and inquiry, and not knee-jerk campaigns to whittle away the office of sheriff into non-existence. With domestic terrorism and crime trends rapidly increasing, this is not common sense public or political policy to make the county more effective or efficient. The reality of government citizen-centered depends upon not upon the sheriff and BOC, but more or less depends upon the public at large who are really miseducated about what we're doing here today. We need to make this a little bit more open. And with the intention of that, it is my intention to send out this document to as many sheriffs across the state of Georgia as possible, to send it out to as many particular community leaders as well as religious leaders who have an interest in the office of sheriff. They should become more involved because this is their office, not ours. I conclude on that note, and I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Rambo. Your comments are quite provocative. I call on the committee to ask any questions of Mr. Rambo at this time. Seeing none, I again thank you, Mr. Rambo, please.
Thank you all for allowing me that rigorous, provocative debate.
With that, I will open to the committee for discussion or comment among the body. And anyone in